you for joining us from Korea.
What an honor. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm going to introduce our panel speakers, and the idea is that I'm sure this movie has brought up a lot of feelings, right, for all of us, right? And, hopefully everybody saw why it had to be seen at Stanford, right, by all of us, from transplants, CF, psychiatry, right, like humanities, right, like it wasn't been seen. So, and then it's just a process, right, and to further have a conversation, because I think it's too hard. So Stephanie is an incredible producer who met Melissa, and then maybe I'll have you say a few more words, right, but obviously during her life, and formed this incredible partnership with her and was able to make this movie, which has been incredible. So thank you. Do you want to say a few more words about yourself?
You mean with how the beginning of genesis of this project, or?
Just maybe about your relationship, kind of who you are, and then we'll get to that, because that will be, I'm sure, one of the questions.
Yes. So I'm Stephanie. I'm a director, producer of this film. I met Melissa. I only got to know her for about a little over a year, and thinking, we will have enough time, but she came in she told me that she's working on a little project for herself. So with my documentary background, and I said, okay, well, you're gonna make this, I was just gonna help you a little bit. But then once I got to know her, she's just amazing, so magnetic, and I just stuck into it. Okay, let's do this together. So I just followed her journey with all the tandem and everything. So that's how I got started, and didn't think it was gonna be turn out this way, because she ended up passing, and we couldn't really touch the footage for a couple of years. All of us just couldn't do much, and but we, I made this sort of personal promise to her, and to try to keep this promise, and all this amazing things happened. Amazing people came in to help us out this project. So I call this project a community project. We are all part of this little like cog in the machine that is trying to help deliver Melissa's message to all of us. So that's how this project started. Again, with the amazing trust and love of Chris and Lori, and that's how this whole thing also got started. So, and thank you so much for that. So that's my little intro.
Thank you for being here. And next I wanna, many of you already either know or met, but I want to reintroduce, of course, Lori and Chris of our Georges, right? Parents of Melissa, incredible people, CEOs of the Living Breath Foundation, which they founded, and which has helped so many people with CF, right, in communities. So thank you so much for being here. And also thank you, Dr. Dillon, the Chief of our Lung Transplant Department, right, for being here and being on this panel, and I'm just put you in the spotlight, like, oh, please answer some questions if they come your way, So really, really appreciate them. And you can see what a difference, right, obviously those 3 years have made in Melissa's life. And Angel, right, Melissa's friend, and also one of the movie superstars, an actress, right? So thank you for being here. And and I'm also kind of sort of, I'm moderating, but I'm also a big part of the program. I'm leadership. It's like medical psychiatrist, and I'm working with people with CF and lung transplant. So kind of open up, right? So what questions do you want to ask, right, on panelists? Okay.
I have two, is that allowed?
That's allowed.
I have one for Lori and Chris, and I have one for Sebi, if that's okay. So my first question for Lori and Chris is gonna sound kind of like an oxygen nerd question, but I feel like it's important because people living on supplemental oxygen, learning how to live on oxygen is such an important part of quality of life, right? So I have been thinking about this since I saw the movie for the first time in Monterey. And I'm curious because I saw Melissa wearing the portable oxygen concentrator, but all of the tandem surfing was done with a tank. And I'm curious, at the point that she was doing tandem surfing, was the POC not an option? Was it not enough battery, not enough oxygen? I'm curious.
Not enough oxygen.
How many liters was she on at the time? Do you remember?
This was
Probably 5 or 6, and then towards the end, you know, sometimes she was up to 10. And anyway, so yeah, so the backpack could not go in the water because it didn't go up as high as she needed.
We also, Melissa purchased herself a couple very small tanks, but they wouldn't last, you know, it's just
Yeah,
a bad purchase.
yeah. Do you remember how long a tank would get, or how many hours in the water?
Maybe an hour, I think, but they had to watch it, so it could have
Yeah.
been longer, I know they were always adjusting.
Yeah,
I'd say maybe longer than an hour, because quite frankly, it would take her, you know, from the car or wherever they were stationed, 10 or 15 minutes probably to get to the ocean, so probably an hour and a half or two.
and I just keep thinking, I kept thinking about it while I was watching, both times that I've seen the movie, because you guys probably know me, the CF community, about the SOAR Act, the Oxygen Reform Act that did not get through Congress, and it's hopefully maybe going to get through the next round, but one of the big parts of it is access to liquid oxygen, which is infinitely more portable. And I just keep thinking like what that would have been like for Melissa to have access to liquid oxygen. But okay. Can I ask my question to Sunny? Sorry. Hi, Sunny.
Yeah.
So one thing that doesn't come through in the movie that I know from hearing you speak at Living Breath Foundation fundraisers is that the missing character is you, because you, as we know, developed a close relationship with Melissa and experienced all of those things that we saw in the movie. And please know that you can decline answering this question if it's too personal, but I'm just curious, like, as an artist and a creator, I just can't imagine what this experience was like. I'm just curious if you have any thoughts you're willing to share with a bunch of strangers about that.
Sure. I mean, personally, I got to know Melissa after she passed, because, you know, she never, I mean, I've been to Stanford and, you know, followed her around, but she never complained about how sick she was, how, you know, it was because she was so always upbeat and positive. So I didn't really know how serious that, you know, the disease was really. And then after she passed and going through her iPhones and all these things, it just really kind of, I always say, make me a better filmmaker, a better storyteller, a better person really about, and I'm a Buddhist and I really like the idea of meditation and, you know, looking for something bigger than what we always have. And Melissa knew that, and she just going through what she's gone through, the story really told me like what is really important in this life, you know, and taking it easy and also always just be authentic and also thinking about other people. And also, as a storyteller, made me really humble about everything. Like also learning, like kind of looking inward. You know, we always say that. So just looking at her life made me look at my own life and looking at what am I complaining about? You know, I could breathe. All she wanted to do was just breathe. You know, one more breath. So that gave me a perspective, and I really wanted to share this idea. And that's my. I feel like a mission, this divine mission, transferring that story to other people. So anybody who's going through a difficult time, when they watch this film, they'll be like, oh, I could breathe. Let's live this life, let's live the moment. So again, as a filmmaker, this was a really big turning point in my life for me. Like, why do I want to tell a story? Or what story do I want to tell? What story do I want to tell? So in many aspects, it's like life-changing experience, but more than anything, I got another set of parents here, Lori and Chris, they adopted me, and Angel, of course, there too. And I also want to say something before I forget, before Angel. We have a little family friend here, Amelia. She was in the film with Melissa. And just because I want to thank all the medical professionals and the caregivers, because she watched growing up, you know, how the medical care helped, and she wants to be a doctor now. So she might like to say, okay.
Well, this was a great application.
All
right.
Yeah, it's amazing watching that, and then here she is today, you know. So I wanted to mention that.
And just
All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for sharing this beautiful piece of yourselves. And I think kind of building off of that last question, you know, you were talking about Sebi, how this, you went through these, you know, text messages and, you know, there was a part of the story where, Laura, you were going through maybe your journal and you found the book at the very end there, the hummingbirds. And I mean, so much of that is so incredibly powerful. And it sounds like a lot of that had to happen with some space and some healing afterwards. And some of the most powerful parts of this documentary for me were those notes that you kind of uncovered and were able to show that you'd written, you know, while on ECMO or while, you know, otherwise maybe on a ventilator, not really able to talk. Just all of this kind of the cries for help or asking for loved ones or asking for anxiety medications, just really powerful sort of, but sometimes also speaking to really beautiful, kind of meaningful moments. And I guess my question is, you know, laying out a lot of that for all of us is just, it's so incredibly powerful and deeply moving. And I also, I think this can be for anyone who's willing to answer it. If there are parts of when you watch this, or even when you saw it kind of coming together, if it felt like, this is my story, this is actually ours, and I kind of want to keep it mine and keep it private, I'm glad you did it, and I'll just say that part. So, and I'm really, really touched. I mean, I'm a psychiatry resident, I should introduce myself, sorry. I'm a third-year psychiatry resident, and as someone who is married to someone with cystic fibrosis, I find it very meaningful to get to hear Joey's story and the story of people who love someone with cystic fibrosis, but I also can imagine there being these tugs of being like, maybe this is just for us, we don't need to share this. And how does that feel? Do you ever have regrets, or you want it all out there and you're okay with it? I mean, I think it's okay if that's an answer too.
You know, when Melissa started filming, probably in 2013, 14, a lot of that filming, she was, before she had transplanted, she was just filming on GoPro or whatever, and I thought, I heard her talk about it, and kind of was just giving her space, and just figured it'd be something we'd go up on Facebook, or, you know, a 15-minute show of what she's been doing. And, I don't think, I've never felt that this was my film at all. I don't think Lori's felt that way. This is Melissa's and Sebi's story. And the one thing I want anybody to know is that this film was made because Melissa wanted to. Lori and I, all we did was support it. And quite frankly, once we saw the first cut, a raw cut, we were 100% in, as was our foundation. We saw it being what it is, much more of a story than just about my daughter living with cystic fibrosis. It's a love story. Joey's the finest man I've ever met. Never left her side for 4 years. So there's many stories throughout this thing. So me personally, I never felt that way.
Yeah, we were I was all in for whatever, I knew it was important to her and stuff. But I do want to update you guys a little bit on Joey. Joey is like still a huge part of our life. He did get remarried about 2 years ago to Mariah, who is, we consider her our daughter-in-law. And when they got married, they had Chris and I walk down the aisle with them, and both of their parents, because we're part of their family. So it's all good there. And she loves us and we love her. Yeah.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. Debbie, beautiful cinematography and the way you kind of edited together the juxtaposition with the water and what's happening in the hospital, the drip and the froth and all of that. Amazing. I'm somebody who pays a lot of attention to birds. That was a female hummingbird. So that's pretty awesome. The male birds are much more bright and colorful because they have to attract the females. The bird was beautiful, but it was definitely female. I really
Her
appreciate.
name was Melissa.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I really appreciated the highlight to anxiety and PTSD and the struggles of her mind. She was so strong, she was so resilient, did so many things, but she openly talked about that. As a psychiatrist, I was really appreciative of that. I wonder in your work with the foundation, do people, do they have an opportunity to ask you questions about that? What is your interaction with them about the mental health aspect of this disease?
I was talking with a young man who's 30% lung function from Southern California, and he was scared to death of what respiratory failure looked like. And my kids, quite frankly, Nick was really moved by what took place. They, in clinic, wherever it may be, they were never able to get that answer. And I know there isn't one solid answer to what respiratory failure looks like. But my son was 35 years old at the time. Melissa was 33. Nick didn't know if they were going to be able to give her sedation, anything. He was 35 and afraid to death that he would have to live this thing out on his own at some point, whether it's hemoptysis, whether it's in 10 years, respiratory failure. When he saw that they were able to give her something to relax her, and I will say this, the female doctor in the ICU, she saved our family, but the way she treated the situation. Lori and I went out to find her when Melissa was, ready to make this decision, and she asked if she'd get a few minutes. She went back. She looked at Melissa's records as quickly as she could. She came in and told Melissa how proud she was of her, what a brave decision she was making. And wanted her to know that the sedative was not going to kill her. Okay, so she was not killing herself. She was making herself comfortable and letting nature take its course. So, as a family, we're extremely close. We knew this was a possibility of the plan. We knew she didn't want to do life support again. And that really is the only thing she wouldn't do. And part of that is because when you're in ECMO for 27 days and you're awake and you see everything that happens in those 24 hours, it is a huge impact. She wasn't, like she said, she wasn't afraid of the surgery. She wasn't afraid of recovery. She just, she was very intelligent. She had some excellent people helping her. And guiding her through this. And so anybody that helped her guide through that is really responsible for our family being very much at peace. Do we miss her? Every second. She needed a lung, she needed 2 lungs, probably a heart. And we knew she needed kidneys even though they weren't there yet from the ECMO. And we had people tell us she would have gotten all those, but she may never have left the hospital. And so they thought that was also an excellent choice that she made. So that's kind of thank you.
It did help our son also relax about, end of life, because it was really beautiful and peaceful. She had, all of her friends and family surrounded by her. They were singing. We had nice music on, and she passed very peacefully. So for our family, you know, that made it all okay for us.
I think Angel said something before. You want to comment something on that, Angel?
What?
We had an interview, yeah,
Oh, that, development.
okay. About this question.
Oh, about like mental health with cystic fibrosis. Oh, it's a big one. It'll plague minds on your mind is very powerful, and mental health is very much a real thing that you need to pay attention to. I feel like as CFers, we're old souls, and we kind of are more in tune with that from how we grow up and how we experience how short life is very early in our lives. I mean, some of the people here have helped me with my mental health, Meg, Kate, Dr. Cher. Dr. Cher didn't know it, but I walked into her office for having panic attacks the day Melissa texted me that she was going to be transplanted. Like, that was her option. But she didn't know that. She thought I was getting treatment because I got stung by a bee and I had like a panic attack, which it was, but something else was like brewing. So mental health it's very real. It can be scary, but with the right support and talking it through, it is something that I'm glad that it shows in this film because it's real. I mean, everything you saw she wrote, that's emotions. She couldn't talk, but she made sure she wrote it down, and it can be really scary, and I respect her decision as well. The PTSD of doing it again, I couldn't imagine. I don't know if I could have done that either. So, yeah, mental health plays a lot in chronic illness, of course.
And I'd like to say something about my the editing of this film. My editor, Jimmy Cohen, brilliant man. He also gone through a difficult time in the hospital at one point, and
Thank you.
should I keep talking?
Yes.
Yeah. So he, all my crew came in without even getting paid in the beginning because they believe in this project. But he talked about the hospital experience and an ICU unit. So when he was editing that part, we call a little artistic shot of because we didn't want to make just another medical documentary. I want this to be some just beautiful, happy, something I want to go watch. I don't want to feel depressed or anything. So we wanted to make something just happy, and that's, I think, what we tried a lot. That's why we couldn't just settle with what we got. We had to reshoot a lot of those, and a lot of people don't know that when they tell me, oh yeah, she did great tender, but those are all stand-ins. Those are one of Melissa's best friends, and another friend who looked like her, but we didn't want to make it cheesy, kind of a reenactment. And so that was when we actually brought in drone shots that are, it's called FTP drone. They're not just any drone. They're like really close by, and my drone guy built new ones so that he could drop it in the ocean, so we'll be okay, sort of thing. So that's why we were able to go close and to take you there, see what is it like. I'm not a surfer, so but I wanted to feel that with her oxygen tank. What is it like? Why she wanted to go there? And what about that sliding and riding and all that? So that's when we all came in, this drone people, editing, everybody came in to come up with something different, but take you to water without, doing just like any big budget shots. So that's where I came in. I thank my creative editor, Jimmy Cohen. He's in Madrid right now, actually Barcelona. It's an international crew. All my crew members are from, my color correction was in Paris. Our composer, Eddie Landwood, was just nominated for a Latin Grammy. So we have really amazing, talented people all came in because they all believed in Melissa's story, and that's how this all came about. So. Thank you.
I have a comment and I have a question, right? So comment is again, I agree. So those documenting those last moments, incredible and what a gift, and to keep the camera rolling. And I remember you told me before that, sort of, Melissa was like, no, keep filming this, right?
Yeah.
And
So that Yeah, that day, what Lori calls me is like, well, you gotta come now, this is like our third day. So I drove, leave all my camera gear in the car because Lori sounded very serious that day. So I thought I'll just walk in to see what's going on. So as soon as she saw me, and Melissa had a BiPAP on already, so she couldn't talk to me, and I could tell her energy is not really there. But then she was doing this, it's like, where's the camera? Keep rolling. So I went back to parking lot and I brought the camera back in and started shooting, but still not knowing what is happening. And then when I was in ICU room, just to get a shot, and then I heard them talking about what happens if I take this BiPAP out. And then I realized, oh shoot, this is pretty serious. And then, so I went to the family waiting room and asked Chris and Lori, what should I do with the camera? And then they both looked at me and said, you know exactly what she wants you to do. I knew that. So I just brought the camera in, and I don't know how I rolled it. Again, all my excuses for all the blurry shots and not pretty shots because I wasn't able to look at the viewfinder. But I kept rolling, and it was my turn because she really wanted to tell the story the way it is. The honesty, the truth is so powerful. So I just kept rolling. And then it was my turn to say goodbye. And I had the camera in, I told her, I will finish your film. And and I don't know what happened because, I got tears and everything. But camera was rolling. And then after a couple years later, I just had a courage to see I gotta do something. And then I looked at that footage of that time, and even she was passing, she nodded. When I told her, I will finish your film, she acknowledged it, So that was it. I now have evidence I have to keep my promise, right? It's like, damn, I have to keep the promise. So that's how I got the courage to get started. And so it was, when we had a screening in Carmel, we had a doctor came in and asked me thanking for that part of the footage because it was very difficult to, he feels like his patients all need to see this. So that really made me feel, this is why, any other film festival, to me, this screening is so important because she was so appreciative of all of you guys, first of all, it's such an honor to be there and doing this, first of all, and how, it's my thank you to all your medical professionals. It's just, yeah, it makes me, oh, I can't talk anymore. So yeah.
Thank you, Sally.
And once the shoot goes a little bit, then we'll come back, right? Of course, Dr. Dylan, you've been in charge of the program for a long time, right? And maybe it's a little bit, not just a question for me, but of course you see everybody who goes through this, right? The kind of the anxiety and PTSD and, right, sort of the cognitive challenges have come up, of course. And I wonder how, from your perspective as a pulmonologist, right, how often do you see that, the anxiety, right, depression, the psychological symptoms, and that they become part of the transplant recovery story?
Absolutely. We can do this. In some ways, the medical part is the easy part. In a lot of ways, it's we can do without our social workers and our psychiatric colleagues. So we have been pushing for that. Dr. Sher should be embedded in our team. Right, absolutely. Because, we couldn't get them through, our patients through, successfully without all that support we get from, again, our colleagues from both psychiatry and social work. I really think. And it's a key, if they lose hope, there's no getting them through, so it's really important.
Thank you.
Also, I want to mention some of the notes that I discovered. One book was actually a workbook with you, Dr. Sher, I think. So she was writing up all the questions that you had to have her answer. And that's when she was comparing the pros and cons, and she worked through a lot of that notes. I studied a lot on that too. So,
Yes.
so you,
Hi there, my name is Crystal. I am an adult nurse coordinator, adult CF nurse coordinator. Actually, I have 3 questions. First of all, I wanted to ask Sebi or the family, are there any plans to make this documentary available on other platforms like Netflix or Amazon?
Yeah, right now we have to go to film festivals and kind of get people out there seeing it. And Sebi's in the process of getting an agent, and hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed, maybe a Netflix or, Amazon or something else. Sebi wants Netflix.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Everybody, there's a lot of people that really needs to see this. And then for the family, or maybe and Angel, how do you hope her legacy influences the way people choose to live their own lives after watching this film? And then I'll wrap it up to Dr. Dylan. What conversations do you hope this sparks about organ donation and then the reality of waiting for a transplant?
This whole documentary is made with such love and devotion. Everybody involved, Chris and Maury, Sebi, the crew. It's a living, breathing tribute of her life, and it's powerful and it's beautiful. And we want it to go everywhere as much as she wanted it to go everywhere. So we hope Netflix picks it up and everybody gets to see it because it raises CF awareness, it raises mental health, organ donation, it raises surfing as a healing treatment for cystic fibrosis. But yeah, we want it out there because her story needs to be told and it needs to be shown everywhere.
You're raising an important question about organ donation. I mean, these kind of stories and documentaries would help with it. We need that. People to understand what's on the other side, what happens, and who are these people. And, I thought it was beautifully captured, right? That always that tension. You want the organs, but you don't want anybody to suffer. You don't want anybody to have a bad outcome. So it's important it gets out there, especially these days. There's a lot in media right now about the downsides of organ donation, and organ donation is not getting great publicity in the media. So I do think these things are important to keep on reminding people why that's important.
yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We are getting an agent now. We'll probably do a few more film festivals, and then hopefully we'll get distributed by Netflix. And then the proceeds will go help the foundation too. But another thing is through this social media, we have a lot of footage that I haven't shown. Melissa plays this ukulele for her other CF friends in the hospital, so that they will, on their birthdays, whatever. I'm sorry, my cat wants to say hi. So we have a lot of footage like that. I would like to put that in a constant kind of a feed we're gonna do about this and organ donation, how this helped her have beautiful 3 years. And so we will continue to do so, and that's the difference between our project and other project. My next project is also about organ donation, but this will continue to live. And I also forgot to thank my editor who's there, Terry, right now, who's shooting this, so he cannot know, but he's doing a good job putting all the social media things in the video. He's amazing. He's in Monterey, so our local friends here. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Without it, it's not possible. But anyway, so that's where we're going. So please follow, go to our website, and we're gonna continue to do so. And again, having Stanford, having this event is amazing for us, because we have another clinic interested in showing this, but sharing this intimate story that we couldn't talk about it's amazing. So thank you. And so many people cried. We just had a screening in Arizona. Man, it was just crying. Clinic, please. But then they all say that was a good cry, so I don't feel too bad about that.
Hi, is that?
Yeah.
My name's Lisa. I'm one of the pre-transplant nurse coordinators, and I've been here over 30 years. It's so amazing to watch this, and I think first I have a statement, and the second I have a question. The statement is that working with cystic fibrosis patients over all this time, what a heroic and strong population. I mean, one of the things that I truly love about working with them is their strength, and while they're born knowing that this has, as they said, they're an end date or an end number, they do try to live their lives as fully as possible. The other thing that's been rewarding for me is seeing less of them as the years have gone by. And Melissa wasn't able to avail herself of these new medications that are extending life for so many patients now. So it used to be at least 30% of our patients were CF, and now so much smaller. And that's truly wonderful to see. The second question that I have is that also being an ICU nurse before I did this, countless times I wrote back and forth with patients on paper. How did you happen to keep all of those papers? Because the volume of paper that would accumulate over that period of time there, did it just get tucked in a drawer? Did you consciously think to keep it?
No, we consciously kept it. And it was probably maybe 1 or 2 reams of paper. And she used every little corner of it, and then she turned it over. A few of those we actually had to tear off, and I framed it. Like she had sent one to Joey's parents, I love your son very much. And so, we tore that off and we framed it. And she wrote one to her grandma, and different things like that. But I don't know, we just put them in a box and saved them.
I mean, I think
we still have them
in the ICU that we kind of take that for granted, and they go in the garbage or they're flipped over. But there's so much value in holding on to them, and I think that's something we should remember.
I think a lot of it also was good for her when she was working afterwards with Dr. Scher to go back and read some of them over and kind of refresh, kind of what was going on at the time.
Because the one last thing I wanted to say, I'm sorry, is that now there's some movement in the use of virtual reality and for stress and anxiety.
Yes.
And the question that I have in my mind is, if they could have put her onto the water in that setting, like how much more comfort she might have been brought.
Yeah.
So it's just something that I'm really excited to see in use now, and I'm hoping that people will find their happy places and be able to use virtual reality in that situation.
That'd be awesome.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm a dietitian who worked with Melissa, and just a comment. This is a really beautiful film. Thank you so much for sharing this with our Stanford family. Really captured kind of the grace and the fun and kind of the real true spirit of Melissa. I loved the notes you incorporated, because I do remember walking into the ICU, she'd put her finger up, write curiously, and give you something, and then you'd say something, she'd like, write more. So it was just really special. I mean, I really appreciate you sharing this with us. It was a really beautiful film.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, this film wouldn't have been possible without Lori's collection of not just the notes, but all kinds of little things. So I would ask for something, and then there's a new photo somewhere showing up from Lori. And Lori's the one who shot the hummingbird at the end. So her work has been great. So thank you, Lori.
Yeah, that was a pretty incredible experience for me, and it lasted a good 3 minutes. We only have a short little part of it in there, but I just kept trying to shoo it out the window, and finally with the last shoo, it just decided to stay with me. So anyways, it was pretty powerful.
Yeah. And also, I wanted to mention Jack Johnson, the singer, gave us 3 songs. And that was amazing. Yeah, this is a surfer. Hans, one of our Amaliola director, is a friend with Jack Johnson, and it's a good cause and everything. So because of that, we got donated a lot of beautiful songs, copyrights for now because of that donation. So it means a lot to us. Jack really loved the rough cut, and that's how we got able to do the songs. Otherwise, it's really expensive.
Hi, Jose Maldonado. I'm the chief of the Medical Psychiatry Division. I have a statement, 4 questions. And a closing statement, privilege of being the chief. First, and I want to read it because I might get emotional. Lori, Chris, Sebi, and the ultimate producer, Melissa, thank you for making this movie and sharing it with us. More importantly, thank you for reminding us of the human side of healthcare, for reminding us of why we do what we do, and for reminding us of the privilege that it is to be able to care for amazing people like Melissa, each one with their own unique and inspiring story. We really couldn't do what we do if we were not able to see things like this, so thank you very much. Now the questions. Dylan. Dr. Dylan, and of course I'm a shrink, so I have to ask him a psychological question. Gandhi, how does it feel to see this film? The film of a former patient, her recovery, her eventual relapse, and what I think will be difficult, how do you deal with a patient's decisions that they had enough?
He's the chief.
That's
He went there.
As far as how does it feel, I've been doing it for a while now, and every time you see these things, it still comes as, that how much we miss day to day. I'm just impressed by our ability to miss these things. We truly, all these things which are going on, you don't capture. You just go in, you say, oh, we'll go up on your program, we'll go down on this, we'll do that. And it's so much easier to do that stuff, and we have actually talked within our program that we need to slow down because we are doing, everybody's always talking about efficiency, how many patients we can get through the system, how quickly we can see the patients. So we are actually going in the other direction now for these reasons because we are not stopping to fully understand that aspect, and we outsource it to Dr. Sher. So it is always insightful, and I'm always actually taken by surprise. This has been really amazing. Thank you for sharing. Sorry, what was your other question?
No. How do you personally deal with this?
Deal with it as in?
Particularly when a young, vibrant patient suddenly says, you know what, I got enough. Thank you for the knee transplant, I don't mind.
Right, and that's a great question, and we had this conversation today with the patient. It is, we have to keep on reminding ourselves that we work for them. I work for Melissa. Melissa wasn't there for me. Because it's very easy to get carried away. Yeah, we'll put a new heart. Oh, okay, kidneys, okay, we'll do a kidney. We'll do a heart and a kidney. It's very easy to get carried away because there's always things we can do. But when you do get that, we have to keep on reminding ourselves, we work for them. And they are the boss here, and we really have to accept it. It's occasionally there is a decision, you just disagree with it, you're just honest about it, you say, you can do this, but at the end of the day, it's their call.
Lori, Chris, question for you. The question is, what keeps you going after this? And I'm saying that as a father of a swimmer who's 16 years old, and as a father, I'm not, even though I'm a physician and I'm a shrink, I'm not certain that I can keep on going once, my daughter would have passed. as yours did, because it will remind me constantly of the loss. So what keeps the two of you going?
Well, for me, a lot of it is, it keeps her memory alive with me. And, you know, when I watch the movie, it's like spending a day with her. I get to hear her voice, I get to hear her laugh. And so I want to do what she wanted, which was create this movie and now, you know, have the world see it. So I guess that's what keeps us going. And, you know, we do have another child with CF that, you know, we got to keep pushing through for him. I didn't tell you, my son Nick is doing amazing because of Trikafta. And we saw him in the film, and so, yeah, that's been a real blessing for him. So, anyway, you want to speak?
Quite frankly, about 7 years ago, I drove up here very early in the morning, and a friend had to drive me because I wasn't up here at night, and Lori told me I need to get up here. And best friend since I was 8 years old, and when he dropped me off at the hospital, he was going to head back to Monterey. It was 6:30 in the morning. I told him I don't know what's going to happen, but I need to say goodbye to you because I can't imagine living without my daughter being alive. And if she's going to die, I had never been there, obviously, and I didn't know what was going to come about. And I'm just really pleased that the way that it took place is I'm at such peace. I can speak about this with just about anybody. Usually it helps me. Almost always it helps me. But just like Melissa, I almost always go to the positive in talking about her. I'll tell people that yes, 22 of us watched her die, but we all walked out, better off for being there. And so for me, that really allows me to keep going. Just the fact that I'm at peace, and I feel she did everything she could do. I know we did everything we could do, and at this point, it wasn't meant to be to try and fight that battle she was in. She couldn't fight that battle. She knew, like she said, she can do the transplant, she can do all that, but she didn't know if she wanted to do life support again. And when it came to that point, she was absolutely going to need to do that. And I'm just so proud of the decision she made.
Sari, what was your main goal, or what is your main goal in producing this movie, and what do you hope to accomplish once it's released?
Main goal was to keep my promise. That was one. I would like to have it distributed very soon because I think the more people see it, the better it is. And so I'm focusing on that with the agent and film festival. So I know it's gonna go somewhere. In the meantime, like I said, film nowadays, finishing film is one thing, but this kind of outreach for us is very important, to go out to the community. I mean, you can watch the film, but you don't get to hear and have this kind of conversation. And I feel like this was Melissa's gift to all of us, for her mom and dad to celebrate her life this way. I want them to go to the film festival and talk to people, talk about Melissa and her legacy and all the good stuff. So for me, that's amazing. And I haven't told Lori and Chris yet, but I have another project now I'm preparing about organ donation. Maybe I'll go back to Stanford and talk to some of you about it. But I really feel like this film gave me a good direction on, what kind of story do I want to tell and how important it is. And, living, I feel like I got a really good, direction to my career. So I'm very grateful. And again, just watching Chris and Lori doing this fundraiser, if you go to have a time, go to their website, there's a little video we put together. I mean, they have full-time jobs. They both work somewhere very diligently. And then they have another job running this nonprofit. And it's like a tiny little nonprofit, but very amazing. And they raise so much money to help all the CFers, the things that they really need. And so I got to really know how they live and how amazing it is. I learned so much from them. So I guess that's my next thing. But again, we are planning on going more of this kind of private screening to have this kind of conversation, not just the film. So hopefully that'll keep Lori and Chris busy a little bit. Maybe they'll retire someday. So.
I have one last question for Dr. Shears, if you're not spared. So, Lisa, what was it like to care for somebody like Melissa? And how did you manage her decision to hang her breathing mask?
But I would just close up and get away, but achieve, right? I mean, it is truly a privilege, right? I mean, I've learned so much from Melissa, and I learned so much from my patients. I mean, they truly inspire me. I mean, I honestly think it's so meaningful to be there in those situations, to be there in ICUs in those life or death situations, and to be able to have those conversations with patients. Like, we often walk in and they don't know us, right? They come to the clinic. We don't know them, and then they trust us with the most intimate and vulnerable stuff. I honestly always reflect, like, what an honor that I get to do this. And that's what fuels me, right? And I do remember, like, with Melissa, right? I mean, some statements, like she said when she was in ECMO, that I can never leave. Everybody, parents can leave, Joey can leave, doctors can, but I cannot never leave. And that sort of stuck with me, right? Or I remember, like, there's another, I think, there was she was telling me later that she had, like, a hair growing out her face, and she was on ECMO, right, and everything, trach. And her friend was like, oh my goodness, can I please remove this hair on you because I know it really bothers you, right? And Melissa's like, please, right? And it's sort of like the dignity, right? Like, that's why physicians, we're like, up, down, tachyline, or Sodex, or whatever, right? But it's like those things that, bring patients dignity, they're so important, right? And Melissa is somebody who is so articulate in that, right, to teach us. I mean, so I think Melissa has definitely made me a better doctor, right? And again, many patients do. So it's so meaningful. I think it's, honestly, I do think it's a calling in a way, but, people who know me, I'm like an optimist, right? So it's a privilege. So, yeah.
So to the parents, now that we were sitting there at the second table with my team, we decided that we're going to write a research paper on medical PTSD, something we see all the time, but I was just Googling and there's almost nothing of substance there. So her legacy lives on, and it's okay, we will list her as either co-author or consultant. I haven't decided yet. But I'm mindful of the time, and I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I also want to thank our president, not the one that you're thinking of, the president of Stanford Healthcare Medical Center. So some of you raising your eyebrows. So David and Whistle, who, and the administration of the hospital, who made this night possible and provided all with, a few drinks and yummy food, but making it possible for us to be here and for us to share this amazing story, for us to learn all of us together and enjoy this most inspiring story. So thank you very much to everybody, and I'm sure that if some of you need to leave, thank you for being here. If some of you want to mingle, we'll stay here until they kick us out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey Nick, would you, we're gonna pass out just some cards, and they've got a QR code on them. If you were moved and you'd like to make a small donation towards this film, anything that we get through tonight will actually go to the film. It won't go to the Living Breath Foundation. It'll go to help the film. And then there's just another thing I'd like to explain to you. My son is 42, is now on Trikafta, but in 2015, when Melissa got her transplant, earlier in that year, Nick had been on Nick had had Kaleido, which was the first part of Trikafta, okay? And it helped him, and we knew that. He was in a study in Utah, and he couldn't get back there. He had a washout period, got sick. Anyway, Nick was very ill at the same time that Melissa was. And my fear was losing both of them, quite frankly. My wife had studied had watched them go through the study of Kaleido for 10 years. And she challenged the state to get the Kaleido off label. And at the front there's about a 99-page document that Lori wrote. And she got him the Kaleido in about June of 2015. He'd been in the hospital every 3 months for the past 4 or 5 years before he took the Kaleido. Fast forward 6 months, and we're living up here trying to keep Melissa alive. And Nick beats a cold. The first time that I can remember he beat a cold since he was a youngster. And didn't end up at Stanford University in the hospital while we were up here with Melissa. But he was so ill at the time, both Nick and I believe Lori saved his life, quite frankly. So you can imagine how close those two are. It was wonderful of her. 40 hours a week, works another 40 on the foundation, and she had time to put together a 99-page document for a judge to allow us to have the Kaleido. And it truly did save his life. So he is 42, as I said. He's only been in the hospital twice in the last 10 years. So, it's a miracle in itself.
I didn't write the 99 pages. I just saved them from the internet.
She saved him.
Like those documents.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you everybody so much for coming. Really appreciate it, and hang around or have a good night. And again, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.